Mike Dolson,
I'm here.
Tom McDonald,
Here.
Jamie Pluff, Greg Demontier,
Here.
Carol Langford, Danielle Matt,
Here.
Bing Matt, James Steele Jr., Martin Charlo, Len Tuteeth, Lanish Trahan.
Bing, will you give us a prayer this morning?
I'm schooling student. We thank you, Creator, for your blessing that you give us. We thank you, Father, for watching over our children, our elders, and our grandchildren, Father. Father, we ask you to watch over our men and women in the armed services, also those that are the police force and also those in emergency services, Father. Father, we just ask that you watch over our people that are out there that are watching on these roads every day, Father Lord. We just thank you for watching over them and giving them a safe trip wherever they're going. Father, we just thank you for the weather that you brought us today. And Father, we just thank you for watching over everybody here, Father, and we ask that the council, you give council guidance today and then the decisions that they have to make today. We just thank you in the Lord's name. Amen.
Thank you, Bing. Morning, Jamie. We have minutes from May 5th, 19th. Motion by Leonard to approve the May 19th minutes with any correction. Second by Bing. All in favor? We're unanimous. We have an agenda for today. Any additions to the agenda? I do see we have one. One issue. Anything else for the agenda? If nothing else, I'd entertain a motion.
Wait, check that out. Huh?
It's all right. Motion by Carol to approve today's agenda with the addition. I get a second. Second by Danielle. All in favor? We're unanimous. We'll go to our walk-in. Morning, Leonard. Come on up.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Tribal Council. Got some handouts here before I get going. Pardon? Oh, did I miss you? I'm sorry. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of council. I'm back here again for the Elmo Celebration Committee. I got some bids I got brought in. I met with you guys' board a week ago or so. Back in June 18th, I met with Tyler, one of the lands guys, that he come out to the grounds and he looked over a couple of the spots where we wanted to improve. And one was the sidewalk, which is the last page. And the other one, when he was there, was the concrete slabs for the vendors, food vendors. And if you look, this is okay. On number 3, do you have number 3 up? If you look at the map there, where the red's at is where the sidewalk would be. That's improving the sidewalk for the people down at Sticking Pavilion and then the general public, handicapped people and such, coming from the sidewalk to the bottom of the bathrooms. And the purple up here in the middle would be the concrete slabs for the food vendors. We've talked about that the last couple of years. And when I was in here last, I talked with council about improving the elder parking. Where one of the pictures that I had, I didn't bring it back with me. It was around the west end of the dance pavilion. As you could see, if you look over to the right, there's a little purple square there, is where I moved it to. And the reason I moved it there is it's a little bit bigger, but it's less time consuming. And on the west side there, for the elder parking, there was way too much work to get done in there. For the southwest end of that, by the dance pavilion, we would have had to lift it 3 feet. And then towards the northeast end, we'd have to lower it to try to get level and still keep a 2% drop in there for runoff, for rain and what have you. And so when I moved the elders over back behind where the elder existing parking is at, there would be less of that work, less lifting and digging. There would be some, but not even close to what it would have been on that first place where I wanted to put it. And the reason I'm in here today is I'd like to get approval with Top Gun for a sole source contract for these 3 bids. And if he said, he put in, if we bundled it, he'll give a $500 discount. You could see the discount on the parking lot and the craft food vendor spot. I've been waiting over a month to hear back from your little board or Tyler, since 418, and he hasn't got back to me at all about other bidders. Like I've commented before, I worked with Top Gun for years. He worked with me under construction while he was an operator, and he's on his own now. But we're only 50 days out, and I'd like to get these 3 projects done before celebration starts. I would have appreciated if we could get it going, and he's already out there with his equipment, and he's willing to just get these started if we can get it approved and moved forward. You know, waiting any longer, it's already been a month and we haven't got any word on the first 2 bids, so how much longer do you want us to wait?
Question, so has,
Go ahead, Len.
he's already started on the retaining wall project and that's almost done?
Yes,
Okay.
it's completed now.
And Leonard, it's not a little committee. It's kind of insulting to say that about something that we do as a tribe, so. And Tyler's right behind you, so if you want to address him, you can do that as well.
Well, you guys asked me to go talk with them, so that's what I'm referring to.
It's not a little committee, though. You're belittling it, right? By calling it a
I
little
didn't mean to
committee.
say little committee. By belittling, I didn't mean it in that fashion. If you take it that way, I'm sorry.
Mark?
I just gave you guys a breakdown of the meetings that we've had with Leonard and the powwow committee. From the get-go, from our first meeting, like I said, back in February, we had a phone conversation back then after he was healthy out of the hospital, and after January. We had an initial discussion on kind of what work wanted to be planned out for this year, and the sidewalks were not part of that work, the initial discussion and scope. There was a fencing issue that wanted to be done. The retaining wall was #1 priority. We're looking at the vendor sites, getting them asphalted. The concrete came into play 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago to us. We didn't have anything new about that. The retaining wall itself was contracted out to be 200 some feet long that wrapped around from the vendor park but the elder parking where this ramp comes down on the north end of the pavilion and wraps around the north and west side of the pavilion is where the retaining wall was to be done. It was to be 2 feet tall, 2 1 by 2 foot blocks stacked on each other, retaining wall. Day 2 of the project, Tyler went out to the site and Leonard had changed the scope of the work and shortened the wall. So we were talking with Mr. Jeffries that we have to know about any kind of changes because that takes a contract change because that breaches the contract. And then by that afternoon, it had already changed again from going from a 3 foot wall to a 4 to 5 foot wall. And now it's a lot shorter and it is not what CSKT contracted for. These add-ons were not part of a major discussion of the new site. He had talked about it being asphalted and so forth in the future. We told him for time conveyance this year, it's going to have to be compacted and get it leveled out and compacted and probably crushed gravel and everything at least for this year alone to let it settle. Come back in and restabilize it again next year, potentially to pave it for the amount of money that is issued out for the Powwow Grounds property management. And then he came in with a different change of the asphalting for the $75,000, which puts the budget over the limit that we had for it. So now it's over the spending limit for what was scheduled for this year's improvements.
Mr. Chairman.
And we are waiting still on two other contractors to get their bids in to get it done in time for the Venderson Park for concreting.
Go ahead, Leonard.
Yes, as far as the wall's concerned, it is a little shorter. I've called up to Lands probably a half a dozen times, and I know how busy these guys are at other jobs. I know this isn't the only project. I did change it, and I changed it for the fact that the 2-foot wall that I initially come in here for wasn't going to be satisfactory to what I was trying to accomplish because of the way the ground is. I don't know how many of you have been out to the celebration grounds. It's higher than it looks there. And so looking it over, we went 3 feet on part of it and 4 feet on another part, the middle part of it, to hold back the dirt and the runoff and the clay and stuff. And that's why it's been changed. The money part of it hasn't changed at all on the contract. It would have been nice if Lands could be out there while he was building the situation, they would understand. But as far as cost wise, it didn't cost any more than what you guys approved. I built it to the way it's built now to accomplish what I was trying to accomplish to begin with. You know, the tribes paid twice to get this done. And this is the third time. And so when the contractor come out and we start digging out there, and start laying that first row of blocks, I was looking at it and I was telling the contractor, I said, 2 feet isn't going to be high enough. The runoff is still going to come over the top of that because the middle of that is 4 feet tall. That's why I went 4 feet in the middle. And it's going to do the job that, should have been done to begin with. I totally get that. Lance is concerned that we changed the scope of work, but we accomplished what we're trying to accomplish by building it the way we built it. It's going to do the job that I wanted to get done from the clay and water being washed out onto that sidewalk. It's rained pretty heavy since, about 4 times out there, and none of that water has come across onto the sidewalk. None of that clay has come across. So it's doing the job that I come in here and ask to get done. So not a penny more has been spent on that project. I invite any of you and all of you to come out there and take a look at it. I will be back in later to give you guys pictures of before, during, and after, because I was out there that whole time it was being built. I might have missed a few hours here and there, but generally I was there, and I have more than adequate pictures to show you what I've done. I got film of what I've done. And I did what needed to be done out there without getting with Lands. Like I said, I've called, and I understand they're busy, so that's why the wall was built the way it's built.
Carol.
It's efficient.
Yeah, first of all, Leonard, I really appreciate the work that you're putting into this whole process. It's going to be, I think, fabulous when you get done. First of all, the procurement process needs to be adhered to. So you said you have 2 more bids coming in. So we need to look at those, see if he's in the right range with his bid with Top Gun. The second thing, there's a budget process, and we need to make sure that we follow that budget process. But Leonard's saying that the cost is within the allocated money for this year. Is that correct or not?
The cost that we contracted out for the retaining wall We don't know if the cost changed or if Mr. Jeffries decided to take a cost cut because it changed or anything.
So this isn't even in there?
That is not into
In
the
this
budget
year's
for
budget.
this year.
And then the third one is the bids, the two bids that you're waiting for.
Yes, that's for the slabs. And the slab was originally going to be slab work of just where the vendors are. Now it's a stair step slab wall. And it was just going to be leveling and compacting in a slab. So now that's changed also from the initial scope.
Okay,
Um,
and you're
so-
right, there is, when you change a bid, it needs to be modified, usually
yes,
by us.
because the contractual work under contract, if auditing purposes, somebody went out and looked at that contract and went out to site and looked at it, it does not match up. So that is an indicator that there was some misplay, foul doing going on because that contract, I bid it for this job, this size, this is what it is without a contract modification. That is an audit finding. So we have to follow that in procurement policy to T. And Tyler has been out there on multiple occasions with Mr. Jeffries and talked with them on all the changes from day one. Just because Leonard wasn't there doesn't mean our staff was not there.
Jamie.
So Mr. Jeffries is Top Gun, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so the original contract was with, that you're talking about, that you wrote was with Top Gun.
Yes.
And what was the amount of that compared to this?
Roughly 43, I think it was. 42,165.
Got Danielle and then Leonard.
Mr. Chair. Leonard, I'm glad to hear the work is done and I'm hoping that sand's not running down like it was because it's hard to push strollers, wheelchairs, walkers through that clay that builds up. So I'm glad that that part is done. I think that was a safety issue and that's why I was very much for let's get this wall in and keep our people safe, slips and falls in that mud. That was a pretty dangerous spot you had there. I've been through it a few times and pushed things through there and it's tough. So that was very necessary. The priorities, you know, safety's a priority. Some of these things are wish list things that I think we have to go through the budget process because if we do this right now with it now being initially budgeted, we have to take from somewhere else. And it's hard to take away from somewhere that's already put in their plan and these items are ready to rock and roll to say, wait, we're going to slide this in now. These are great proposals and I'm excited to see the work finish up there. I don't know that we're going to get it all finished this year. That's just my thoughts. But this council might decide different, but I think we got to slow down and take a look at these ones and go through the process and get these on there so we can start them right after the season and do these this next budget cycle starts in October.
Go ahead, Leonard.
Yes, thank you for those comments. You know, I totally get where Mark's coming from, you know, with the contract and such. I've never seen anybody from the tribes come out and verify the work that was supposed to be done on any undergrounds, especially the Elmo Celebration Grounds. I'll give you guys an example of what happened, I think it was last year or maybe 2 years ago when SK Technologies was heading up the celebration grounds to get them improved. One of the things we had done out there was the EMT building. And no one showed up to see the contractors come in and build that, to put the slab down. And I was there. And I filmed what they've done. And knowing the contractor and seeing him around, he was telling me, you know, he's done this for 30 years. And I thought, well, good, we'll get it put in right. And all he did was just frame it up and pour the cement. Didn't dig it up, didn't put a base, didn't even spray to kill the grass and laid the cement. pad. So I called us technologies up. It doesn't matter who was ahead of it, whether it's Tyler, whether it's Mark. But my problem is with the tribes, when we spend this money, this is every tribal member's dollar coming out of their pocket. I get that. And that's why I watched these projects. I watched that project that I talked about with the EMT building, and I called him up. And he said, yeah, we did the one down in Arlee too. That's what SK Technology said. And I said, well, how come you guys weren't out there? He didn't build it right. And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, he just framed it and laid the cement or laid the asphalt cement. And he said, well, I talked to him and he said, we did it right. So I sent him the film. And thankfully enough, SK Technologies, I can't remember who was, they started another little branch for this particular jobs they were doing. I sent him the film and he come back down and he made those guys come down, take that pad out and build it right. That's the problem I have when we have no one watching these contractors, whether they're a member or non-member, building on tribal lands, let alone the power grounds. I have a big problem with that, and so should you guys. You know, that guy had to eat that money by tearing up that cement and put it again right. And he did. They made him do it. They wouldn't pay him. And now Mark's saying here that I deviated. Yes, I did. And there's nothing wrong with deviating from it as far as someone going out there and saying, this isn't right, you got to take it down. I built it right. I've been around long enough and done enough projects. I've done all this type of work. I knew what was going to work and what wasn't. That's why the wall is the way it is. You know, it's not quite as long as that I would like it. You know, if we can get the grass growing, we might not have to finish it, but what I was holding back was that 4-foot section is what was my main concern, because that's where all the clay and stuff was washing onto the sidewalk. You know, and another thing about the Alamo Celebration Grounds, you know, the contractor that the tribes got, whether it was lands or maintenance that did the paving out there, was poor paving. I can show you guys pictures right now on my phone where grass is coming up where they paved. Those things should concern you guys. That's going to have to be redone here probably in a year or two. And if that asphalt was put in right, in the right mixture, in the right form, we wouldn't have to worry about it. I don't think I'm asking a lot to ask for a sole source contract, because I know this contractor is going to do a good job. And it isn't the first time you guys did sole source contracts. You guys did one a month ago or so with food sovereignty. You guys modified contracts with the irrigation project that goes over budget. You guys have done sole source contracts over the last couple of years. I mean, I get we should be following policy, and you're the policy makers. If you want to build a policy that every time someone comes in here from our organization, the answer should be no, but it's not no. So to sit here and tell me that you guys want to do a sole source now, when you guys done it in the past with larger amounts of money, and there's no oversight on those things, you guys need to hire an inspector. And I told you guys this last time. It's important that when we get something built, it's built properly and built right.
Got Jamie and then Leonard.
From the notes from last week, May 19th, It says, as proposed, working with Top Gun vendor as provided by committee on retaining and intending to clarify changing the scope of work on the retaining wall. Could you explain that?
Yeah, we were gonna be coming into council this afternoon during our land committee and discussing that to do the modification on how it changed. So we can get that paperwork corrected.
Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Just based on the circumstances and the situation right now, we have the contractor out there. It only makes sense that we continue to keep him working out there. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. We have gone outside the policy and approved sole source contracts with other departments. So, but what I'm really concerned about here is throughout this whole process, I've been told exactly how much money we have to work with. And they've been different amounts every time, okay? So I just want to make sure that the money is available. So if we do decide to move forward, the money's there. Some time ago, I reached out to finance and they did give me a number, and that's why I thought it was I thought it would be good if we just move forward with Tim, since he's already out there. And he'll get the work done before the powwow, so.
Go ahead, Mark.
I can bring in that budget this afternoon to show you exactly how much money is set aside for property management during land committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mark, Leonard, and the major difference between this and us approving sole source contracts and things like that is those are for departments. Those are, you're a committee. And, that's one of the big separations here is that there isn't a checks and balances. I mean, Mark's a great guy, but again, we got to follow policy, and it's not really, apples to apples, that comparison of, oh, we do sole source contracts for this and that. And this is, outside of the realm of what we should be seen as a walk-in. We see walk-ins for tribal member issues. If you want to come in with a budget and stuff, schedule time so we can prepare and have our ducks in a row. You're more than welcome to come in, but this is like a department issue. And so we have a lands committee meeting this afternoon. Maybe we can invite you back then again to go over these numbers, so we're prepared to address this. But we don't have departments just coming in with bids from their buddy and doing this. They've done due diligence. There's reasons behind it. It's not just because they're around or something. So, and those dollars are important. So I want the same effort towards our Lee as there is to Elma. And that it doesn't seem like that's what it is. I would love all kinds of beautification in our Lee, but that doesn't happen because I don't know why. So.
Leonard?
Yeah, I guess what you're trying to say, Martin. This is your land, the 10 of you sitting up there. This land we're talking about out there for improvements belongs to the 7,000 plus tribal members. So it's not different. It should be the first priority. Whether I'm a department or not is not even relevant. And but as far as following policy, that's your job, not mine. You deviated from it. That's all I'm asking is the same thing. The person, Top Gun, yes, I know the man. He worked under me on a lot of highway projects here, and he's an honest person. And I worked hard on getting that wall built right. For us not to come in here, or someone else not to come in here and say, we gotta fix that wall. And nobody seems to be looking at the fact that that I'm out there doing it and I'm making sure it's built right because I'm knowledgeable enough to what's going on. Doesn't seem to matter. What matters is that we gotta follow policy. We could go back 3 years and I'll show how many times you guys didn't follow policy. And that's your decision, whether I agree with it or not. I'm just trying to ask the same thing you give to everybody else when you do a sole source contract. I'm not blaming Lance for anything or anybody. You guys approved a contract. You guys have done it for years. What I'm complaining about is you guys don't hire someone to make sure these things are done properly. Let them sit here and you look down on me and say, we got to follow policy, Martin? How many times have you voted for it and how many times have you voted against it? I'm not against any of you people up there. I respect each and every one of you. You were elected by the membership. I'm giving you the courtesy to come in here and explain the things of what I'd like to get and how I done it. I can guarantee no one from Lands was out there as much as I was on this wall being built. And I know they're busy people. And I'm not blaming them 1 minute for them not being out there as long as I have. But I can guarantee you it's built right. Period. I'm not asking anything out of the ordinary. When I talked to Councilman Two Teeth months ago, he did talk to Greg Spar. And Greg told him there was $500,000 in there. And Mr. Two Teeth said, well, that should be $250 to each celebration grounds, is what he got from Mr. Spar. So with that in mind, that's why I went and got with the committee. And we changed our priorities, that we know how much money we could spend now. We asked that last year. How much can we spend and, how much can we expect to get done? And no one's ever told us. So I asked Councilman Two Teeth from the Elmo District how much. And that's what was referred back to him. I'm not blaming anybody for anything. All I'm asking for is a solution where we can get these things built and built properly. And thankfully, like I said, I know enough out there to make sure it's done properly. And I got videotape and pictures to prove it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Council.
Jamie and then Carol.
Leonard, I want to first of all say I appreciate the work that you're doing, and I know that you care about our land and what's being done. A few things. First of all, one of the things that we're doing different this year, because Jason had come in on behalf of the Arlee committee, and then you came in. So the committee that you're talking about that Martin brought up is our staff. We thought that it was important that our staff, all the people, the financial person, lands, everybody work together with the committee, which is you're the representative of the Elmo committee. Jason was at the time. So that's why we set up time for these, for you to be with the committee. For us to get all of the information instead of just you coming in and us getting information from you. Then we have the lands department come in. If you guys are all meeting together, then we know you guys are working together. That was our attempt to try to, build this committee with our staff. But Mark's coming in this afternoon, so I'm hoping that we see those numbers, that we get all those numbers, and if there's hopefully that we can modify the contract and make sure that the work gets done.
Carol.
I want to say that I can go for this if the money's available. I think you make some very good points. We have deviated, so Mr. Chair, wait till this afternoon, see where we're at. I don't know, Greg's not in, so I don't know, but
No, Greg's on travel, he said today, but we have all the numbers broke out already from a budget sheet that I provided Greg last week.
okay, and that's just my opinion, not anybody else.
Tom,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hey, Leonard, thank you for coming in. I want to focus on one point that Leonard shared with y'all, and that was his videotapes. And I don't know how many times in my career here for 42 years where I've encountered that, where we are missing that inspection. There's a couple of gentlemen back there that are in construction business and they inspect everything. Safety dams program. I mean, it's a critical thing and you absolutely do that. But I thought maybe we had a higher standard with SKMM, you know, maybe that was just one of those, it was SKM you were talking about. But to have someone be there spending his time and actually videotape the construction of a floating slab that was done inappropriately, and then turn that over to SKMM and then tearing it all out and redoing it, that's a significant issue. It's a significant issue for me. And Leonard, thank you for doing that. Thank you for making sure that things are done right. I think as far as the one contract for the wall, maybe it was kind of just framed wrong. It was this many square feet of wall, however it's shaped, lengthwise, height, whatever, just this many. And the topography changes. So some areas that it's going to have to be higher. It's not going to be uniform all the way around the arc. So I can understand that change order. So I'm assuming that change order is going to happen. There's not going to be any more money involved because he already admitted to do it without approval from who has the approval, which is Mark. So these contracts are all through Lands Department and they have to fit within the budget. And so for this fiscal year. So I will certainly support anything that's within the budget that we have for Lands Department that is associated with this fiscal year. There may be things that the list is never ending as far as I'm concerned to improve our facilities for all of our people because we all own it, that we can factor in for next fiscal year. So I just appreciate your work, Leonard, and how diligent you are to make that a beautiful grounds. And the issue of us doing a better job inspection wise is critical because a lot of times I would hire contractors and, you know, if I wasn't there, it was like, you know, they're always going to do the cheap thing. You know, even people you think they have a high integrity. It's like, you know, if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. Or if you want to make sure it's done right, you got to watch it and make sure it's happening. But for a Lands Department, which doesn't have enough people to think that they can be out there all the time, it's not reality based. If there is some way we can share construction inspectors, we're not just all in silos. Different departments do different things, whether it's all NRD or lands or forestry or whatever, whoever's building something, where we have to have some inspection standards, we have a code we need to follow. I think we can do a better job. So I just want to agree with Leonard on that. I do agree with you, Leonard, and thank you for bringing that issue forward. I would look forward to our afternoon discussion and reviewing Land's budget, see what we can do for these other ideas and needs on the power grounds. Thank you.
Greg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Call me old fashioned, I guess, or maybe operating from a belief system that is old. But I'm just going to ask everybody just to take a second to feel the room right now. Because there's a lot of negative stuff that's hanging in the air over this. Here we have a volunteer who has come in from the, you know, on the powwow grounds. We have funding available. We have the department here who is responsible for getting a lot of that stuff done in place. And we're trying to do a good thing. We're trying to showcase to our people that we take pride in our grounds. We take pride in what it is that we do. And we take pride when we invite them in to our places to do this work. That's all a good thing. And here, as we're trying to work through that, there's all of this negative stuff that is going into it. I can tell you right now that if I was baking some cookies, I would throw the batter away with all the negative stuff that's gone into it right here. I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about how difficult it is to do what should be very simple and a very positive. It should make us all feel good to be doing this work. Yet we're struggling with it, and we're wrestling with it. So we need to do something a little bit different in terms of how we are working with when we have a volunteer coming in from the community that is making the wishes known and trying to make this stuff come together. So I'm not putting anybody at fault, but I'm saying that the process that's got us here has got us into a negative spot. And I'm not real confident that moving forward from where we're currently standing is going to have a good outcome if we don't change our approach to this. So this is a simple thing, and I don't want to turn it into a big thing, but I am concerned about whether or not we are working this as well as we should. So Leonard, I got to ask you, the meeting just last Tuesday, I'm going through the minutes from that meeting. Are those, have you seen those minutes? Are those minutes a good reflection of what took place?
No, I haven't seen them. Speaking of those minutes, you know, I got there and so I went in, we started discussing what was going on. Now, this is from my own perspective. This is how I felt, and this is what I remember being said. When we started talking about what was going on, there's a couple of them that sat there and they conversed back and forth, and they just left me out of the discussion. And I'm not going to bring up names because that doesn't matter to me who it was. What matters is that was supposed to be a meeting of trying to get this thing going and on the same page, and it wasn't turning out that way. And I tried to interject once and I was ignored, so I got up and left. I was at the meeting for about 20 minutes. I got up and left because I didn't want to say something that I regretted. I didn't want to say something out of anger, out of frustration. It was a meeting to try to accomplish what we're trying to get done at Celebration Grounds. One of the things that Mark just mentioned, and I'll bring that up, was brought up, I think 2 meetings ago, about the elder parking, about doing half of it and leaving it until next fall, possibly, like he said just a few minutes ago. Makes no sense. It makes no sense because any of you that ever worked at building a road, a highway, or a parking lot with asphalt and building it from the ground up and putting a base on it and not finishing it, you're wasting your time and money. Period. If you're not going to build it from start to finish on that parking lot, don't build it at all because you're wasting money. If any of you think that gravel parking lot is going to stay the way it is for a year or so before we get back to it, or even a couple of months, that settles. The fine stuff starts to settle on it. And if you get rain or anything else on that parking lot without it not being paved, it's going to start washing those fines to the bottom. Regardless if you compact it and stuff, because Mother Nature does her own thing. So I'm telling you right now, if you don't want to pave that elder parking lot, don't even build it this year, because you're wasting your money. And I'm telling you that from experience. Period. That's all I care about, is that we do things right. And we just don't put money on it to quiet people or to pat ourselves on the back. You know, I've worked hard since I've been out there the last 5 years. I had a lady from Hart Butte call me up 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, about our pavilion. And they were going to get one built up there, and they're fighting with their council and their administrators. And so I told her what to do and how to do it and what to look for and what to ask and make sure there was someone around. Francis Hall sent me a picture last year, and Hart Butte built their pavilion, just like ours. And the lady took what I gave her and she brought it forward to her council, and they approved it. You know, last year we put up a website. We got 10,000 hits on that website. We got new dancers coming into our celebration, new drum groups, new vendors. So what we're doing out there reflects on all of us, each and every one of us tribal members. And that's why I'm really proud that you guys put money into it. Because you guys are putting money out for the membership, not for this committee, not for me. I'm not doing it for me at all. I'm doing it for the next generation to come that takes over when we're gone. So I appreciate what you guys do. And there's always going to be some animosities and some sharp words. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we got to come to a good solution by the end of the day. I'd be more than willing to come to your meeting this afternoon. If you don't want me there, that's fine. I'm busy too. But thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council.
Jamie?
I just wanted to say I appreciate you letting me know about how you felt in that committee, because our attempt was to try to get our staff to work, you know, like with the committee. So I appreciate you telling me that. And you're welcome to be here this afternoon.
Leonard?
Thanks, Jamie. I have no problem with working this committee you have. The hardest part I have is the knowledge base they don't have. They're there for finances. They're not construction workers, or maybe they are, I don't know. But what I've gathered over the meetings and talking with them, they don't. So talking with someone that does construction and talking with someone that does finance, that's oil and water. It's never going to mix. We all want things at a reasonable price, but I tell you what, everything is going to go up next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. Nothing's going to get cheaper. So it's hard for me to sit there with this committee of yours and talk about construction work out on the particular grounds we're talking about and try to make them understand. I'm not saying, you know, they're wrong. I mean, they're looking at dollars and cents. I'm looking at it on what's going to be the most effective way we do it. And that's why the wall was built the way it was built. And coming to them prior to us doing it wouldn't have mattered. Thank you.
Thank you, Leonard. We will be talking about finances this afternoon. Mark? 2:00. Morning, Trevor. Come on up. Go ahead, Trevor.
Okay, morning, everyone. My name is Trevor Brass, if you don't know me. Parents are Chuck and Janet Brass of Lone Pine. I live in Lone Pine. I'm the Safety Dams Program Manager. Today, I got 10 minutes. I'll try and be brief. Discussing Kicking Horse Dam modification project and requesting an increase in the not to exceed amount for an agreement with the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, who is the design engineer for this project. Here's just a plan view of the area. You can see the dam, the dike on the south end there, Highway 93 running north and south. And then there's dike number 2, which is going to receive some work on it. They're identified up in the upper left. And there's actually another dike up in the north end that we'll just have some road work done with it. Issues with the dam. It was built, in 1930s, in those day and age standards, which wasn't much at all of a standard. It was built on a layer of topsoil. It has shown evidence of failure in the past, which resulted in a reservoir restriction. It's above the Bureau of Reclamation's public safety guidelines standard and warrants risk reduction. And it, like I said, it has a temporary restriction on it. Here's an example of a past failure mode that was shown to occur when the reservoir got to a certain elevation. It's called sand boiling. It basically creates enough pressure and the soil conditions are just right to where the pressure can actually push the soil out from underneath the dam and on the downstream end of the dam that leaves a void underneath the dam, and you could have basically collapse, which would lead to overtopping of the dam if the reservoir is at a certain elevation. The outlet works where the water go through the dam is deteriorated. Quite a few issues such as this, deteriorating concrete. We did do a pretty major repair project probably like 10 years ago. It probably could use another repair, but we're planning on going forward with this modification project that will replace the outlet works completely. So what this modification project does is it controls seepage under and through the dam, replaces the aging infrastructure, improves operation access long-term, and it reduces the current risks of the dam.
We have a question, Trevor.
Good.
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. So first of all, it's a little difficult for me to get over the irony of going from struggling with the retaining wall at the Elmo Powwow grounds to talking about a Kicking Horse Dam modification in that short order. But all of that being said, I don't have any doubts at all about the work here that needs to be done. But my question goes to, why is it that we as a tribe are paying the federal government to come in here and work on trust property? I understand that the work needs to be done. I'm just curious as to how we find ourselves in the situation of having to pay the federal government to work on trust property for us.
Go ahead, Trevor.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so historically, CSKT Safety Dams has utilized Bureau of Reclamation due to their technical expertise in this line of work. Their resources, they have many folks employed, specifically in Denver. They call it the Technical Service Center, where they do any number of dam work that's going on with their facilities, but also across the nation on other facilities, especially BIA facilities.
I'm sorry, I asked a or poor question, right? So it's not that they don't know what they're doing and that we shouldn't be seeking their help. Why are we paying them?
Yeah, so the Technical Service Center is, they basically offer services to other folks for what they consider nonprofit. You know, they're not in it for profit, right? And so they label it as you know, the biggest bang for your buck as far as when you're working in the dam field. And so, you know, our program historically has never, we don't have the technical or the resources, capabilities to do this type of job. You know, we definitely take on some of the smaller projects that we have going on, especially when it comes to like maintenance, stuff like that. But our program or BIA's safety dams branch do not have the capability to take on a project such as this, especially with design. Yeah.
Well, that's what they're there for, right? But we also go and work with a lot of federal agencies, and I don't know that we pay any of them. But we're paying these guys. And so that's why, and it's really probably not a fair question for you, but it's just something that I just can't get over.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of time and effort that goes into this. They have to, you know, basically pay for themselves by doing this work. The other option that we have, and which we're trending towards due to the federal issues going on and reclamations issues that came along with that, is going to consultants. And so, you know, we'll be paying them, I guess, rather than reclamation. And so, yeah, it's a weighing act on what is best for the tribe's safety dams program. So, yeah.
Another question. Danielle?
This one might be a stupid question. I seen Casey was online. I don't know if it's quite something that you would be able to answer. I guess when I'm probably been explained before, but I think Kicking Horse, Crow Dam, all of these different places, right? They're FIP projects. And then we pour I know the compact's got some form of dealing and working on FIP projects, but what is that priority to the tribe? Is it a FIP priority or a tribal priority?
As far as modifying the dams, yeah. Yeah, I'm probably not the best one to ask, but I would say the dams themselves are BIA safety of dams branch facilities. FIP operates the facilities. Our program is more tasked with administrating the safety of the dams. You know, as far as the dam safety goes, our program's priority is addressing these major risks to the public and environment if there was to be a dam failure. And so that's kind of where our program puts the priority is, you know, what dams are a risk to the public up to the point where it's not feasible to allow it to maintain that risk. And so we need to address that risk some way, whether it's restrictions or modifications or some other means. I hope that kind of answered your question. Yeah.
A little bit. I might give Casey a side call and visit with him a bit.
Yeah.
Thank you, Trevor.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mr. Chair, yeah, a bit of case history here. We did the comprehensive resource report of the flood irrigation project back in 1985. And that's when we did the full in-depth study of the condition of the irrigation project, both the electrical division and the irrigation division. That report, comprehensive report, stated that the irrigation project was in terrible state of disrepair, and it highlighted the dams as a significant issue because of the construction conditions that they used back in the day compared to today, and then obvious failings, leakage, et cetera, that was present in the studies back in through 82 through 85. But it also said that irrigation, the electrical division was in better standard, and if we wanted to contract something or compact something, that was probably something doable versus the entire irrigation project. But it looked like they were going to go immediately based on the safety needs for the irrigation project to work on fixing the obvious massive failure potential of these irrigation structures, these dams. And we chose at that time to be the contractor to implement that work versus some other entity doing it. And we created the Safety Dams Program, which then also branched on to monitoring other dams on other places throughout the country for the BIA. I'm mistaking something. If I'm saying something wrong, please correct me, Trevor. But the question that Greg brings up is if this irrigation project was being operated by the Bureau of Reclamation instead of the BIA, would there be a cost to do this from the Bureau of Reclamation? They just do it themselves, right?
Right.
So I think that's the federal, is that more of the question you're asking, Greg? So that is a good question. The other thing is that why are we continuing? I guess it was wrapped up in the water bill, but that was, we had separate appropriations for the Safety of Dams program because it's a national program. It's not just the breadth of here, but as far as fixing things, it's just here. But monitoring of the dams, we're basically a contractor. What would we? Yeah, that's my train of thought. Anyway, I don't know. I guess I give up right there. Much as my brain's going to work this morning, but it's fluid physics are interesting. The question I have for you, Trevor, is there anything going to happen on the inside of the dam face?
Oh, in the reservoir footprint?
Yeah.
No, other than, basically up to the toe of the dam. That's the extent of that. So
nothing inside the reservoir itself.
no.
I was just trying to think of a few fishing piers or something where we could use the dams a little bit more appropriately for recreation.
Okay, yeah. So as far as that fishing access, there is that potential of improving that ramp.
That's not the ramp I'm after. Is that when I used to study this in recreation, Kicking Horse Reservoir is a high recreation use area for our people, for the local residents, not necessarily tourists. And so people struggle fishing off the riprap. And so if there was better ways where people could fish off the dam, not using a boat or a ramp, that would be really important improvement for accessibility for us harvesting fish in this man-made reservoir.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely keep that in mind.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. Greg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the interest of moving forward on this, it strikes me that what needs to be done here is fairly straightforward. And so I'm raising some questions about why we've been doing it that way for a number of years. So I think what we need to do is we need to move forward. I make a motion to approve not the agreement, but the amendment, I believe, is what we're looking at to the agreement with the Bureau of Rec. But that we take note of this and examine ways that we might be able to impact what the federal government's responsibility and obligations are here on the irrigation project.
So I got a motion by Greg to move forward with the modification 5 to, I don't see the agreement number right now.
Is it 16151?
16151.
Modification number 5.
Any other questions for Trevor? And it's clear that there's several other projects besides just the Kicking Horse project that are part of this modification.
Right. Yep. 16-141 modification 5. Yep.
All in favor? We're unanimous. Thank you, Trevor.
All right, thank you for your time.
Then you had a question you wanted to do before tribal health?
No, I just seen on the email that they canceled this morning, so.
Okay. Isaiah? Come on up. Morning.
Good morning, Council. I am here today to ask for the acceptance of the high bid for the tadpole logging unit. We had the bid opening last Wednesday. We received a single bid from Dupuy Logging. The timber sale itself is 1.32 million board feet. We had three sorts: ponderosa pine and others, Douglas fir and western larch, and whitewoods. Total volume, as I said, was 1.32 million board feet or 8,580 tons. The total estimated volume or value was $141,000, $141,810.50. And the minimum bids were set at $14 for Doug fir western larch, $2 for ponderosa pine and others, $5 a ton for whitewoods. The bid we received was $16.50 for Doug fir western larch, $4.20 for ponderosa pine and others, and $5.80 for whitewood saw logs, with a total value, including TSI and roads, of $161,189.60.
Greg?
Yeah, I'm just curious, I kind of lost track of prices, I used to know when the market was going up or down on timber, but not as of late. So, do these numbers basically reflect, market right now? I mean, is it above? Is it below? Is it close?
Yeah, the markets themselves are kind of haywire, to be honest. Prices for peelers, the larger logs, they're actually doing fairly well right now. Prices for stud logs are kind of at a low, and that's partly due to kind of the stud market being in low demand, for lack of a better term. This sale in particular, we received a bid that was pretty well expected. There was a lot of road work involved, and there's been a couple sales where we received bids that probably doubled the minimums at least. But those were much less involved with the road work and other things. And so this is pretty representative of the current market conditions for a sale with some extensive road work.
And did we only get one bid?
Yes, sir.
And that's from Dupuy Logging?
Yes.
Motion by Carol to accept the bid. Second by Greg. All in favor? We're unanimous. Thank you, Josiah.
All right, thank you. And there are two more timber sales in that management area, but as of right now, we're kind of hedging our bets, kind of waiting for markets to come up a little bit before we put those out.
Bing, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Did you say they're logging over there right now, are they? Across there?
Yes, sir. Kendall has also purchased the Schley Lookout timber sale, and so they're starting on that Schley timber sale just off of Doney Lane.
Yeah. Okay. I was seeing that. They were logging over there, and I was just wondering if that was That's part of that sale too in there, up there, further up to the west, right?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Len.
So how many mills are open in western Montana?
I can't really speak for the total number of mills in western Montana, but there are 4 that we currently rely on. Well, I think it's actually 3. So there's Weyerhaeuser up in Columbia Falls, Thompson River Lumber in Thompson Falls, and Sun Mountain Lumber in Deer Lodge. Those are the 3 main mills that accept timber from us. As of right now, Thompson River Lumber is down. They are doing some renovations and they're doing some work to increase their volume, their output. And as far as we've been told, they'll be resuming operations starting in June and then possibly closing their gates again in August so that they continue with some of those renovations. But as of right now, there's the 3 that we send lumber to. And as far as pine goes, depending on how the market goes, our loggers are sometimes having to send it to places in Idaho or kind of in the Coeur d'Alene area just to sell it.
All right, thank you.
Danielle?
Thank you, Josiah. And just kind of maybe on a different note, we still have a possible recovery up in that area. Just ask your teams to be diligent anywhere in that Evero Shalai area by the gravel pits. There's still the potential we have a body of one of our missing relatives up that way. So just ask them to be extra diligent. Anything weird come up to contact law enforcement. Thank you.
Absolutely. I will pass that along to our people.
Thank you, Josiah. Have a great day.
Thank you. You as well.
Dana? And we'll take a 5-minute break, so then we'll get Dana going. 5-minute break.
For Dana?
Yeah. Before. Well, we'll come back to order. Morning, Dana.
Good morning. Is it on?
I think so. I hear you.
All right. So, good morning. I've been requested to write a letter of support for our VRTEP program. They have to go reapply every 4 years. So their application is due soon. I think it's due this Friday. So I'm here to request permission to submit a letter of support from the Food Sovereignty Program. It's kind of a long letter.
Questions for Dana? Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, this is a longstanding program that is definitely worthy of support, if not expanding. So I am in favor of this, but I am curious about the amount of funding that they're going after.
I don't know. It's their grant proposal, so I'm not familiar with what their grant entails.
Yeah.
They just requested and the last letter of support was when I was with Treble Health. And they helped support some work that I did with the youth. So I don't know what they're asking for, and I agree, they need expanded support.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Greg to approve sending a supporting letter. Second by Danielle. All in favor? We're unanimous.
All right, thank you.
Have a good day, Dana. Keith Atchison. Greg, come on up. Morning.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me. Last time I was here, I thought was fairly recent, but I was telling Mr. McDonald earlier that time kind of goes a little quicker than you realize. So it was 2024. And at that time, that was actually my first time coming here. I'd been the chief of police down in St. Ignatius, excuse me, since 2021. And it was long overdue for me to show myself here so you actually knew who was down there. And at that time, I had also promised to bring my officers in to introduce to you when I hired new officers. And that was a little harder to do than I thought because they all got their own schedules. Some are volunteers. And so at any rate, I'm back to represent them and to meet the new council members, you know, discuss any concerns or questions you have since we're down in St. Ignatius and we deal with a lot of tribal enrolled members. And as I stated in my last meeting, I feel we're pretty much guests on your reservations. So it's only appropriate that I come here representing my department just to check in with you guys, see if you have questions, concerns, anything like that. I got a few things I can go over for updates, but I'll just hand the mic back to you for a moment.
Well, thank you for coming in today. Has anybody got questions directly for the chief? Go ahead, Len.
Thank you for coming in this morning. We really do appreciate that. But I want to just suggest that the Salish Police Bay Culture Committees have an elders meeting every month over there. Perhaps you could drop in there and do a short introduction. I think they would appreciate that. So it's over at the Longhouse.
Can you turn your mic on?
Okay, I guess I wasn't pushing it hard enough.
You
And
just
I-
have to hold it.
At any rate, I got sick and couldn't make it, tried to reschedule and it's a little difficult. I've been there informally a couple times, giving out flyers for community training, things like that. Like I said, time moves quick and I've more or less just I know they do a lot there. It's something I will work on, because it does need to be done. But I've always kind of known what the Longhouse does, just kind of respected privacy in that way though too. And, usually only showed up if I was to hand out a flyer for some of our training events or if they called us for something. Some of the stuff we've been working on since I've been the chief of police is that, since I've been here last time, it's a mission budget is very small. So I do as much as I can with what I got, but we've been working on a lot of grants, working on getting everything from new weaponry to potentially vehicles to computers to upgrading our evidence room with a lot of grants. Takes a lot of time invested both in the office and off duty. And I invest a lot of time off duty in the department to do that. So we are expecting some good developments down the road on that, specifically with vehicles, because we're always dealing with vehicles that are just wore out, repurposed vehicles that come with high mileage and they're a liability. And so we're pretty excited about that. That particular grant's been like 2 years in the making. And if it comes into fruition, we're hoping to have new vehicles, hopefully by December, which will make a big difference, I feel. We've worked really hard on developing rapport with community partnerships and law enforcement partners. Our office is open to the tribal law enforcement, to highway patrol, to the sheriff's office. We now have a security system, whereas before we had the old lock and key system. Now we got surveillance and fob readers and combo pads to get in. And if a tribal officer needs to use our building when we're not able to be around, because as you know, our staffing is an issue. All they got to do is get a hold of me with a personalized PIN. I give it to my IT and they have 24/7 access to our building, which works out great down south of the county, because if there's issues down there and they can't come all the way up here or need to talk to a witness or a victim, they have our building. It's clean. It's somewhat modernized. but it's much more orderly than how I inherited it, and it's much more comfortable and it's a pleasant environment. The staffing I do have, we have myself as chief and patrol, so I wear two of many hats. We have another full-time officer. We have a part-time post-certified officer who works with the Ronan School District and also with the Power Products Place in Ronan. And we had two reserve officers. One got hired by Ronan Police. The other one we still have, and he's hoping to go full-time at some point, trying to fill that vacancy so we keep at 5. They come in very handy. But as you know, sometimes it's hard to get people to come to work when you pay them. And it's a very unique situation if you find volunteers who are willing to, especially do this job for free. So I'm still hoping to fill that spot, but we were at 5 at one time. We're at 4 now, but that is our staffing level.
Jason,
Yes.
we have a question.
Jason, thanks for coming in. And I guess my question actually goes to both of you. Very much appreciate the update, but I'm kind of an idea guy, right? What I would like to hear from either of you is what can we do to help either of you or both of you collectively, that working relationship, to serve all the people better?
Good morning. I think the working relationship's pretty good. So the local chiefs and the Highway Patrol, we got together, I don't know, it was a couple of years back, and we worked on a strategic plan as a group. And we all signed off on a strategic plan on what we wanted to do as law enforcement. And we all pretty much had the same ideas. We put in our mission statements. We kind of put in a couple other ideas as well, and everyone had a chance to kind of add to or take away from, and we talked about it. The only one who didn't want to get involved was Lake County, but we still keep offering and we'll continue to do so. I think that's been really helpful. I believe with both departments, and it always comes down to that. I know I said it and I'm going to repeat it again. It always comes down to staff. The staffing is huge, and it's difficult for even for us to hire staff. And I know for the smaller departments, it's even more difficult. So it's always going to be a thing to find the proper staffing, just support, supporting the law enforcement and just letting people know that you support them, the different agencies. And if you see them around, just say thank you. That means a lot to all of us, because a lot of times it's a pretty thankless job. And all we get, especially in our positions, I get a lot of it. You get a lot of the complaints and the problems. It's just good to hear once in a while. And you guys have always been great about that, is saying thank you. And I appreciate that. But even like the local chiefs and stuff, they need to hear that. I really think that goes a long ways. Just the support and just like open doors, having the open door policy, like Len for inviting him down to the elders meeting, just all those things like that to get more and more into the community. That's pretty important.
So basically, I pretty much echo what Chief Couture is saying. The support is the biggest thing. We got good communications. I can reach out at any time to these guys and call them. And if I miss it, they miss my call, they call back usually, or I call them. Just knowing that open door policy is there. So if we have something that comes up, we can approach you and get some guidance or request for some help, request for some assistance. We've invested a lot of time and effort into building good relations, and we certainly want to keep that. And because collectively, we all rely on each other in a lot of ways.
Go ahead, Craig.
So one thing I think that'd be helpful is Jason's going out and getting grants. It's just letters of support. If he was able to come in here and request a letter of support from the council, that would be huge to have that from you guys, supporting him and something like that. Because I know that you've done that with others and you do that with us as well. But if for them to have that with our tribal council, that would be pretty big.
That's very doable. Carol.
I always hear things about the city police not responding to Indiantown. Is that correct, or?
That's absolutely not correct.
Okay.
And I can 100% verify that. I've even been called out off duty to go down when there's not a close deputy or a close tribal officer.
I didn't think so. I was just.
Yeah.
Thank
No, and I'm going to elaborate on that. So I don't want to get on a big long spiel because I know I talk too much. Okay, but of my entire career since 2000, I would say the last 4 years have probably been the most rewarding of my career as being chief. And I take it very seriously. And that's a whole other story, but I take it very seriously, which means I take the reputation of my title seriously and my department. We will respond to calls down there. I will even call dispatch and say, hey, I'm here. Do you need me? There is never not responding. If something like that were to ever happen, if that's ever a concern for any council member, I need to know about it because that will be corrected right away. I assure you, we do not. If there's a call so there are parts of south of town that are St. Ignatius, but not incorporated. We have to, ask for permission, but we will never not respond. And you have my word on that.
Good, Craig.
Just to elaborate on that a little bit. So Chief Aitchison sends us a copy of his scheduling every month. So there are times where, of course, because he doesn't have the staff, there could be a short, might be a longer response time, or if he has to be called out or if he's out of town, that could happen. That'd be the only time, and it'd be an anomaly that would happen. So it's pretty good coverage. And again, staffing, but I just wanted to cover that.
Good, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jason, thank you so much for coming in and following up with your word, because that's part of the integrity. Well, first of all, I want to thank you and the other officers in the room for your service and putting yourself in harm's way for our communities, and it's deeply appreciated. One of the things I want to talk about is this, us simply foraging and keeping these relationships up, especially when you have someone like Jason or Chief George up in Polson. We have folks that are really wanting to work with the tribes, can recognize the landscape. And of course, Jason spent some time in Ronan, but being able to hear those words that Jason said when he opened up his remarks, that this is our homeland, and he considers himself basically a visitor here. And I mean, those are powerful words. And that's the kind of relationship that I don't consider you a visitor. I consider you my neighbor. But definitely it is our home. It is our place. It's our reservation. We can't go anywhere else. This is what we care about. And we always try to be inclusive. And so having a police department that's inclusive is really critical. And when Chief Couture talked about staffing as an issue and recruitment and pay, and that's been a bad issue for where you think about comparable wages. And I'm going to talk about, union wages for, let's just say, another entity just up here, a few hundred yards from us, that put themselves at high risk also. We consider their pay compared to someone who's wearing a bulletproof vest sitting before us, and the amount of pay they make, it's far from equitable as far as the risk people put themselves into. And so I always recognized that. And when I was on the city council in Ronan, that's when I was fortunate enough to have some houses to rent. I was saying, well, how can I add to the pay? Well, I can offer them a discount for rent, because it's hard to recruit enough to get people in these pays, in these jobs. And we need to do everything we can to make sure that we have that police force. We have concurrent jurisdiction here. We do not have jurisdiction in 90% of the situations over non-members living on our own reservation. We have to count on Jason for a lot of that work, and how we can work with Officer or Chief Couture, how that happens, that relationship, how we work together. So sitting here and having you two sit before us is a huge thing that never happened when I was a child, never happened up until recently, really. And I congratulate both of you on your effort to be this inclusive, and be communicating and having that, get everybody together and let's have a strategic plan, because we're all here for the safety of the community, and to be respectful and inclusive and do the job that the community wants you to do. And so thank you. Thank you for all that. But when you think about outside the box, is there some funding source that maybe Chief Couture can't get that maybe the St. Ignatius Police can get? Is there some way if we had a grant writer, we could offer that up for if we had that kind of position, we could offer that up for our municipalities that are looking for funding, because Jason's a one-man band, and he's spent a lot of his own time and resources doing the job he loves. He says it's the most rewarding thing for the past 4 years. That's sincerity. That's true. And so how can we keep him there How can we help assist him so it's not such a burden on himself? Well, everything we can. We got to think about it all the time. We got to look for funding, how we can share resources, cross-pollination of officers doing duty, like coverage when there's not enough officers in the town to be there to provide that coverage for the entire community, vice versa, whatever. Incident commands, all these different things. It's really, really important. So thank you, gentlemen, for your hard work.
To make the place professional and comfortable in appearance. But with that, I know the council's time is limited. As you know, we've done a lot of community events throughout the years, open to the community, free to the public, CPR, first aid, self-defense, things like that. Human trafficking, whatnot, awareness. But we do have one coming up on this weekend. It's another self-defense class, free to the community. Talks about situational awareness. The folks from 10-6 Krav Maga are going to put it on. The last time we did this a couple of years ago, it was pretty successful, and it's free for anyone that wants to attend. And then after that, this will be my first time doing it. I'm going to host coffee with the chief, just an informal sit down, chit chat with the chief of police for anything. So you're all welcome to attend if you like.
Danielle.
No, thank you guys for your hard work. I love the working relationship and the collaboration that goes on with the departments. My question is how do you feel about the MMIP crisis that we see throughout Indian country? And I know like Craig, their team, we work with them, right? So we understand what some of their red tape is, right? They have jurisdiction misdemeanors only. There's certain things, there's lines that they can't cross. And so a lot of these things get lost, I think, with jurisdiction and then prosecution. I guess I just want to know what your thoughts are. Do you think we're overreacting? Do you think it's a real issue? What are your thoughts on MMIP, Jason?
Yeah. It is a serious issue, and I probably didn't promote it enough with my trainings, but some of my trainings is because of that. And I know I have talked about it in the past. That's why I want to do this self-defense training. I work a lot of weird hours. I got to be the chief, but I also got to work patrol. So I'll come out at 1 or 2 in the morning and I see people walking from houses that I know things are going on. Okay. And I'm going to bet, if I'm a betting man, there's probably basically sex trafficking going on there too. That was some of the other training I brought in for my community because we're small. But if I could bring that awareness to the community and give them some tools that they can, refer to for their own safety, for their own knowledge, I want to do that. So I do take it very seriously. It is an issue. And, and the drugs and the addiction issues and the trafficking, the sex trafficking, the human trafficking, it's all kind of related. I don't think there's any such word as overreacting for something like that when you're dealing with loved ones and family. So it's serious and I take it serious. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing down at Mission.
No, I appreciate that. I just always a curiosity question for me. See if we need to better educate or collaborate better or make sure we're all on the same page as we move forward to try and find solutions, right? And everybody be aware it's an everybody issue because when there's no prosecution in Indian country, Craig can't prosecute a murder. We can't prosecute a murder here, but when the county or a different jurisdiction fails to do that, that murder is out on the streets that we all live in. So I think it's very important that we're all on the same page with an everybody issue. And I'm glad you brought up the sex trafficking and prostitution. We don't think it's happening in our neighborhoods, but it's very real, especially with the drugs. I've got a handful of girls that I'm very aware of are trading out or soliciting themselves for drugs. And it's really sad. I wish we could do more to help them, but we'll keep working on it. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Craig, was it 2020 or 2021 when we did the strategic planning for MMIP? Is that plan still in place?
It is. It's that strategic plan that we have for I can't think of the actual acronym, but we do have that in place. It's on the website. And you can't over plan for stuff like that. I think the more you do, the better. I know there's been a ton of education, and a couple of my adopted daughters no matter how much we educated, no matter how much they went down the bad road and there was drugs and everything, one has turned their lives back around and trying really hard now. And every one of us has family members who've done that. And no matter how much you tell them about the possibilities, we've all been that age where we just think we're smarter than everyone else. We know everything. I don't know how to reach people like that. And that's so scary because knowing what I know and having my daughters go down that road and just the phone calls at night and everything that happens, it's always like, it's going to be the worst call. And to have one of them come back around and actually change is pretty powerful. It's good to see. But man, I just think, I don't know how to get through to these kids and let them know that this is real. And it doesn't matter if you're a kid or an adult, that chance is there every day if you live that lifestyle and you're out there putting yourself in harm's way. And seeing the people out there walking the highways late at night and whatnot and doing what they do. And I don't know. I don't know how to fix that. And I think that's really the question, but we're at least trying. We're at least have something in place as for a tribe. If something happens, what the plan's going to be. I think, were you here during that time?
I don't recall, but I might have a little bit.
Yeah, so we put that whole thing out as, and all law enforcement decided to work together on that. That was a good step. So we're going to continue. It's not going to ever end.
Go ahead, Carol.
Was it drowning? The river, was that foul play? What, can you answer that?
The name of the person?
No, was
Foul play.
yeah, me too.
I don't believe it was at this point. I know it's still being looked at, but kind of early in the year, to think about it. But the water is extremely cold. So if the person was, I'm not saying they were, but if they were high or drunk, which is a possibility, and they went out in that water, the water's swift, it's cold, and it doesn't take too long where you can't swim. I dumped my kayak a few years back in the middle of the lake going to Wild Horse Island, and I didn't have my wetsuit on, but I had a life jacket. And I'm so glad because by the time I was pulled to shore, because I filled up with water and I couldn't get it back out, I could barely stand. And I couldn't imagine out there with no life support and no life jacket. I would have sunk because my legs didn't work. It was pretty rough. Luckily, my son was there to drag me out. And once I got to shore, it was good. But if you're out in that water, it would not take very long right now.
So I just add really quick to what Chief Couture said, and Mr. McDonald knows a little bit. So my life experience is, it didn't start out quite like this, but for quite a few years, I was a bad alcoholic, very bad, very bad. I mean, maybe I should have been in jail bad. I don't know. I wasn't in law enforcement at the time, but my point is, it was bad. And, somebody must have been praying for me because I wasn't praying for myself, but I got out of it. But when Chief Couture is referring to, the phone calls you worry about and how to reach these people and your concerns about the addictions and the MMIP issues, the trafficking and all that, there's no right answer. There's no fix it fast. Each addiction is going to be different in its own way, and every person's going to handle it differently. I think the one true thing you probably could do is if you are a praying person, that'd probably be the best thing to do. But in the end, it's up to them. They got to see their way through the clouds and want to come out of it like I did. And I assure you, it's not going to be a short process or an easy process. It could take years. So, but it is possible. So you always got that hope.
Go ahead, Craig.
If I could challenge the council on something. I was thinking about it as Jason was talking, I'm glad he went down that road with it. I challenge each and every one of you to pray every day for our missing people. To commit it to prayer for a year and do it faithfully. Every day in the first thing in the morning, just commit that person to prayer. You open council with prayer, commit it to prayer faithfully, and let's see what happens. I think if we do that, we're going to see great things happen. Commit the tribe continually into prayer. I challenge you to do that. I'm going to do it. I pray for you guys every morning. Every morning, I have a prayer list, and I pray for you guys by name every day. Because you have a thankless job, and sometimes you feel like you have no freedom. And I know that you get burned out. I know you get mad. I know all the human things happens to you that happens to me, but probably sometimes at an accelerated level. I keep you in prayer, and I'm going to continue to do that. I pray for the former council members. I pray for the ones from the past and the ones for the future. I pray for you guys, and I keep you in prayer. I'm going to continue to do so. I challenge you. So I'll ask you the next time I see you, and that's Thursday. I'll be in here with Chief Simpson. So I'll ask you who's been praying and who's not. And I'm going to write a list, and then I'm going to stick my guys on you and write you traffic tickets until you start. No, I'm kidding. I won't do that.
We'll really be praying when they pull us over, right?
Well, thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I always have an open door policy down there. If you're in the area, you might want to call first in case I'm not there. But it's always open door, you know, coffee. I even got cigars in my humidor. We can go to the garage and smoke a cigar if you want.
Be done later.
All right. But
Len.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and not really a comment, yeah, suggestion. You know, as we're getting into the tourist season, traffic is really starting to build up, right? And going through those 45 zones is really hard to slow people down. I know we have the same problem in Elmo, but what I noticed with the community of Lakeside, they park one of their police cars in there with a mannequin. And that actually slows people down. You know, so just a thought, if you have a non-functional police car that you ain't doing anything with, maybe it's something to think about, but just wanted to throw that out there.
well, I have thought about it honestly, and I'm afraid I would come to work one day and the tires would be missing on it. Yeah. Now, we do work the highway, and we are donating a non-functioning police car to the Pine Haven Christian Ranch. They have an automotive program, and we just announced that at our council meeting last week. Because a lot of people in the community have helped us out, especially with funding. So we're trying to get back to the community. They got an automotive program that they're doing. They got a lot of equipment, help people learn the fundamentals of working on cars. So we're going to give them a car that is not fit for service anymore. Break it, learn how to fix it, break it again. We don't care, but we also think it would be maybe a good, you know, kind of a good, something positive for the kids to work on a cop car, kind of a good influence, a good inspiration for them. And so we want to try to give back any way we can with what we got. So we got this car that we can't drive anymore, that they're going to learn how to fix cars.
Well, thank you for coming in this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you too, Craig.
Can we go into executive?
Morning, John.
Can we go into executive?
Morning, Mr. Chair. Going to executive. We got a couple items.
We just have Lindsay's items. She wanted to get something in the minutes I could let her clarify that if she wants, but for approval on free tribal IDs 2 weeks before state or federal elections and 2-hour change of duty station to vote during satellite office week.
I think it's just a notice of the action that we took on
Yeah.
March 24th. And so basically to get in the minutes, the notice that we've authorized that 2-hour change of duty for elections and free IDs for the 2 weeks up until the election. Noted in the minutes.
And the other is approval of her resolution.
He wants to go after a grant. Motion by Greg to pursue the grant. Second by Tom, all in favor? We're unanimous.
I think we're good then.
Thank you,
So,
Tom.
good.
Mr.
Thank you,
Chair,
guys.
Mr. Chairman, just to back up one step, it has nothing to do with legal, it has to do with I don't understand the policy, I guess, as it applies to the IDs. It's free 2 weeks before the election. Does that mean it's not free outside of that time frame?
Bless you.
Sounds like you guys, so. Like, go away.
Well, it looks like we get a fairly long lunch today. Back at 1. Recess. For lunch. Oh, hold on a minute. Jamie?
I just wanted to ask, I know we talked about the credit policy because a few questions had come up. And, I just wanted to, I guess, first of all, ask, I just went in and I got a refinance. And this time it's different. I think it was about 6 years ago I got one, and it was for, my floors and whatever. And I got the money, I put it in my bank, and I was able to pay the people that did the job. Well, this time, like, they're going to keep control of it. And like, then whoever's doing my deck, they pay the check directly to them. And I mean, I've never known, I didn't know that's how we operate. And then like our bathroom, we were just gonna go to Home Depot because, Derek and Jordan are plumbers. And we said, well, they're just gonna go get it and they're gonna put it in. And they said, well, we'll have to give the check directly to Home Depot. And I'm like going, I'm not a grown-up that I can't do this on my own. And it's my loan. I was approved for a certain amount. And I just feel really like, did we approve that in our policy? And I just, so I just didn't know how everybody else felt about that, but I wasn't happy about feeling, and it's taken forever for this loan. It's still going to be a couple months before I even get it. But basically what I was approved for is going to be like doled out to whoever's doing the work. And by the time it comes up, I may have to go get a different person for the deck because they've been waiting forever, and I got the amount due. And so I'm trying to get other people to look at, because those guys keep asking me and they're going to say, hey, well, we're too busy now. And then I have to find somebody else that they could write the check to. And so I just want to know what everybody else's thoughts were, and if we could bring that policy back in if people don't agree with it, because I don't like it. And if any other tribal member comes in, I don't think it's fair to them. So, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, well, I got 2 thoughts on it. The first is that it's not a policy. So, I mean, that is I don't know what to call it. It's almost like an administrative call, right? So it's like, okay, so the policy is going to govern the approval or disapproval of a loan between one person and tribal creditor, right? You start to get down to whose name is going to be on a check for a project. That to me is not policy anymore. Okay, that is just something that is happening. The second part is, hell no. I mean, it's like idiot admittance, right? We don't need to put idiot admittance on the tribal membership because we think they're going to screw up a loan, right? They're responsible for it either way. So, yeah,
I have heard of loans of that sort before. I know my parents, when they built their house, got their loan through tribal credit and they got advances as the work progressed. That's what they did.
Well, I know when I built my
So
house,
it was probably a contractual scenario.
yeah, when I built my house, the contractor did that. That was through the bank. But I'm going like, this is our tribal credit department that is supposed to be more.
Go ahead, Danielle.
I think we're still waiting on Greg to bring back in his take on the policy update. We asked her, I think, to redline it at one point and was told that she wasn't able to redline and show us what she took out and what she added. It looks a little AI to me on some of the generation in it, but I can't say for sure it is or isn't, but we need to know the answer to a lot of these questions. Sounds like Greg's on travel. I don't know when he's anticipated back, but I would really like a full follow-up on this because after this has been implemented, it seems like there's this question, there's other questions or
Using other banks.
using other
That's what we
banks and
said.
how things are being administered over there. And so I think we need a bigger discussion.
Oh, how long is your trip report, Tom?
You go back.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to inform council that I went to ATNI last week. One of the greatest things that happened at it, and Martin and I talked about this, was like, try to get Martin as an officer, actually, so we'd have more voice, because it's dominated by Washington, Oregon tribes, a little bit of Idaho. But our outlier tribes, like we're the only ones typically from Montana there. And occasionally an Alaska tribe shows up and occasionally the couple of tribes in Northern California show up. We created a Alaska, Montana, and California caucus. So we'd spend one whole afternoon just trying to caucus and bring forward our issues we can at least bring those as a unit forward for the entire body of ATNI for consideration. So that was a big improvement. So we spent some time actually with the director. She came and made her be there so that we would have the director of ATNI there within our meetings. So that was worth the whole trip for me. Wasn't a lot of any other good news or interesting things happening out there, but just want to make sure you guys all know that occurred. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Tom. Well, I should mention that Judge Amy Eddy stopped last Thursday just to visit the area, the council that he's running for the.
First item up, Tribal Lands would like to make a request to modify the existing contract for Top Gun to continue the work out at the Elmo powwow ground sites.
To expand the scope of work to the walkways.
Or the walk-
and the pads.
Yep.
Motion by Len. Second by Tom. All in favor? Got 7-4 and actually I'm opposed.
Well, let's see. I don't believe we needed any other items on the stuff Holly talked about because those are further discussion items with the individuals. Next item up was the Blackfoot Communications. Oh, that one was a motion item. Blackfoot Communication access to the GSA data. We discussed it that they need to share their stuff with us too. But to allow or deny that one.
Kind of think we ended up with Holly saying that they would work with her in her office. Didn't I hear that? I thought I heard Holly say that she would work with them in her office.
Okay.
Isn't that what I heard? Yeah.
Okay. Request from Jay Reed, Hidden People documentary to film on the reservation. I believe the request was to deny to get further information.
I thought that was what Rachel said.
They both, the filming were.
Tony,
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I couldn't find the hand button fast enough on my phone. I think the previous discussion with the Blackfoot telephone, or the Blackfoot agreement to share data, I think where it ended was Holly was requesting to share the trust data, and then the individual trust and any other would be working through the lands office.
I agree. I think that's exactly what you said.
Okay. I just didn't know if that was caught in the discussion there for that approval.
I don't think so. Just sort of noticed.
The motion on Hidden People.
I got a motion to deny by Lynn, second by Tom. All in favor of the motion? They weren't planning on interviewing people. I think you're exactly right. And it's unanimous.
Windfall Studio approval to film down the Lower Flathead.
I was almost the point that we didn't hear that. Motion by Tom to deny. Second by Danielle. All in favor? We're unanimous.
Next item up, renewal contract for Smith Septic or advertise for fair market rentals.
A motion by Lynn to approve not
5-year
extending,
request.
The 5. What's the word? Reinstate the lease or release for 5 years? Renew the lease. There you go. Motion by Lynn and second by Bing. All in favor?
Next item up,
I've got 7-4 and Martin said no.
next
And for the
request.
record, because we should be re-advertising all of these if we're being consistent.
Early turnout for range unit 14. Of changing the date from well, I don't even have it right in front
June
of my
1st
head.
to May 15th.
Yeah, June 1st to May 15th.
There was a motion by Lynn.
And kick out 2 weeks early also.
Right.
October 15th.
That's been a problem. So I got a motion by Lynn and second by Bing. All in favor? Martin? We got 7-4 and I'm opposed.
Next item up was rental of CSKT owned equipment. Approve or deny. Okay. And the last item up is to offer the topsoil for sale for tribal members.
We had a consensus that we start selling dirt. Cheap dirt.
Site approvals for the new fiber broadband expansion.
Any problems with the tower siting? Go ahead, Danielle.
No, so it's on here that we're good with where it's at, but we would prefer it to be back behind either the Sunny Morjo building or the Anita Matt building if they can. If not, we'll go with there. And then a question on the dirt. Like, do they have to come get their own dirt, or is there a delivery fee? Is there a way to get it delivered? Or we just got to work out that process yet?
It's just like our pit run. You have to come and pick it up yourself.
Is there a limit on how much? I mean, is it like endless dirt, or are we gonna?
What we do on our pit run is that there's so much that, you know, like 10 free yards, 5 free yards
Okay.
is what they do. Or at that rate, as long as they're paying for it, they could get multiple. So that's what we do with our pit run. But we're requesting to sell to tribal members, so that would be coming back in with the approved amount. To get that for advertisement out to let people know what it's going for sale for.
You gonna buy it all,
and-
Danielle? You gonna buy it all?
I did see that Rachel pointed out, the last item up was approval of the new organizational chart for Treble Ads.
Discussion with what? Can we bring that one back?
We can bring that back in.
Appreciate that. That it?
That'll be it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I, from this day forward, I would really appreciate, and I'd make the motion to the effect that Martin just mentioned. Because there's confusion between how we do commercial leases for our ag and how we're doing these commercial leases for businesses, et cetera. So I would like to be able to have that opportunity to make sure that every lease we have at least is advertised and bid out, you know, in a period of 5 years to make sure that's happening. If that's the case for the one we just approved. It didn't happen, but I want to make sure from this day forward that all these leases, we have that opportunity. And then 5 years is a good one. I remember when we used to do the raft company, it was hard to have a yearly lease. As Greg mentioned, how do you get a loan for little improvements if you only have a 1-year business lease? You got to have something of significance in order to get some capital to invest in your business and make it successful. So I think that 5-year term is a reasonable term. Maybe it could be longer. It depends on the investment or the proposal of the land that they're using. But at this point in time, I think it's our due diligence to make sure that we're advertising out on a certain period that let's just have the policy that it's consistent, that we're doing this across the board. I don't know if that's a long motion or what, but I just would like to make sure that's happening.
I do know that we do offer improvement leases in the ag programs that do go to 10. So
Yeah, some do go to 10, yeah. Depends on what the investment is.
we got a motion by Tom to clean up how we're moving forward with our leasing program. And a second by Martin. Go ahead, Jamie.
I think it's all business that we're doing. Yes.
All in favor? We're unanimous.
Yeah, I'll just look at the regulations on the CFR for business leases like that. Because like, Mike was saying is that the ag leases for improvement leases do have that clause in there to go up to 25 years for an improvement lease, depending on the improvement itself of what they're putting value into the business. So we will look into the CFR on that one further.
Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
I was just handed one last little piece of business here. Not for lands, from Melanie. Ambrose Cook Salloway is the only letter of interest received